there's this invisible stuff we can't see, particulate matter, PM2.5, nitrogen dioxide, nitrogen oxide, and it can lead to children having stunted lungs forever, adults with a whole host of health issues from asthma to cancer, dementia to heart disease. But across our city, around 4,000 people die because of this, including a 9-year-old that I got to know her mum. And across the country, up to 36,000. Okay, look, this book isn't a political memoir, but it's a personal story and my journey in relation to me discovering pretty late that actually climate change and air pollution affects us, and it affects us now rather than it being a tomorrow issue, and also an issue for the global south or people other than us. So I'm somebody who, when I was a lawyer, Mariana, I used to drive a Saab convertible. When I became a partner, I negotiated a car park space on the road of my firm rather than a bigger salary. When we had our first daughter, because it's quite inconvenient putting a car seat in the back of a 2-door car, we bought a Land Rover Discovery, a big gas guzzler, which I suspect left London about 4 times, never off-roading. As an MP, I voted for a third runway at Heathrow. The reason why I tell you that is because that's where I was.
I'm very impressed with your mea culpa list there.
Well, no, but listen, but also there's a self-interest in me getting passionate about tackling climate change and air pollution. That basically is because in 2014, I ran the London Marathon to raise money for charity. And after I had a full medical before I ran the marathon. But a few weeks and months later, I noticed when I was running for the ball, playing football, I'd be wheezing. Going on long runs, I'd be wheezing afterwards. And I was diagnosed by doctors, something called adult onset asthma. And what this basically means is you get asthma because of environmental factors. And I discovered that actually there's this invisible stuff we can't see, particulate matter, PM2.5, nitrogen dioxide, nitrogen oxide, and it can lead to children having stunted lungs forever, adults with a whole host of health issues from asthma to cancer, dementia to heart disease. But across our city, around 4,000 people die because of this, including a 9-year-old that I got to know her mum. And across the country, up to 36,000. And the good news is that because the same things that cause air pollution call climate change, you tackle one, you tackle the other, it's a 2 for 1. But you can do something about it. And over the last 7 years, we've sought to do things about this in London.
But you don't get voted in for a third term by taking the sort of action that sort of strips people of their comforts and luxuries, as you've just described. You've been on a inverted commas journey. One, I share with you absolutely. I've had stupid cars and realised that I don't need. And only last night I was talking to 2 friends on the way home who insist on driving everywhere in London. I no longer have a car here. I don't see the point. There's great public transport, but they insist on driving. And, you would definitely lose their vote if you perhaps banned private cars from the centre of the city, which seems to me it feels like it needs radical action rather than baby steps at this point. Is that something that you also feel?
Well, I think, yes, we face an environmental crisis. We also face a health crisis. And one of the things I've tried to do is there's a great saying from a former politician called Tony Benn. He once said that the best politicians are teachers. And I've tried to be a non-patronizing teacher to explain to people what I discovered because of the diagnosis, which is actually...
But you're in a position to do something about it. You're in a position to make London one of the cleanest cities on earth. But I'm just wondering how far, you are prepared to go, aside from a great book and a process, how far you're prepared to go in order to bring that vision to fruition, because it's not a vote winner. And as I mentioned in the introduction, you are about to go for the third term.
Yeah. So the way the book is divided is 7 chapters, which deal with these 7 obstacles. And you mentioned one of them in relation to what I've experienced previously and what I will experience going forward. And they're tools you can use to win an argument, and also, in my view, to win an election. So the first one is, fatalism. There's nothing we can do about it. Apathy, it doesn't affect me, and that applies to your friends. It does affect your friends. Cynicism, all these politicians are the same. Deprioritization, other things are more important than tackling climate change and air pollution. Hostility, a vocal minority often set in the narrative.
So what are the 7 things?
So I deal with the point in the book.
I just don't want to run out. What are the things that you would that you would do, now that you've come to this realization and understood. I mean, we've got a listener here, Adrian, who does get in touch quite often from Darlington, but we do like to get our listeners involved, who asks if Sadiq Khan has stopped being driven to the park to exercise his dog, how he would have such information at his hands. I've no idea, Sadiq, and I've no idea if you ever used to be driven to the park to exercise your dog, but we are talking about behavioural change, so I thought you could deflect that.
Well, as I use public transport, walk and cycle whenever I can. I've used public transport to get to this interview to speak to you, and I cycle and walk. But sometimes, because I've got a protection akin to the Prime Minister and the King, I'm advised to use the armoured vehicle, and so I'm not going to question my police officers when they say to me, for my safety, I should be using an armoured vehicle.
Then you use it, yeah. And so what do you think can be done? Because, this is a problem that doesn't just face London, it faces capital cities, it faces cities across the globe. But we could be at the forefront, couldn't we? So, but that would need radical action. So what sort of radical action could we take that would change our lives for the better? Because, of course, air pollution is something that affects all of us.
Well, it's just worth reminding ourselves that actually, if we were speaking in the 1950s, there'd be the Great Smog. You could see it, right? And what we did is we removed the power stations from the center of our city. If we were speaking during the 19th century, there's the Great Stink. You could smell it. So we built sewers to deal with that. Because smoking meant people got lung cancer, we banned smoking in public spaces. And we can do something about air pollution. So just in 2 years, Mariella, in 2 years, the ultra-low emission zone in central London has reduced the toxicity, the poison, by almost 50%. There are third fewer children being admitted for asthma because of our policies. So there are things we can do about it, but here's the really scary thing. The World Health Organization says that 99% of the world's population is breathing in toxic air. No level of air pollution is safe. And the great news is you tackle air pollution and you tackle the climate emergency as well. So what we're doing in London is turning London from being a city which had big problems 7 years ago to one that's addressing those problems. But we've got to do that across the country and across the globe as well.
Moving away from the book, just finally, today's official net immigration figures show a large rise in net migration. I think last year 606,000. This year 606,000 people here in the UK. What do you feel about the figures?
I think you're going to be very careful how we allow politicians to frame this question. Look, I'm somebody who's the mayor of the greatest city in the world that's benefited over decades, culturally, economically, and socially from inward migration. The reasons why people have problems getting an appointment with a GP, the reasons why your elder relations are waiting for months on end for an operation, the reasons why people have difficulty, getting enough genuinely affordable homes isn't because of migrants, it's because the government has not built enough homes, has not invested in GPs, has not invested in the NHS. Austerity has consequences. Austerity was a public choice, as indeed was an extreme hard Brexit.